Happy Christmas and Merry Christmas. Thank you so much for being here on this early Saturday morning. It's early in the greater New York City area, and we're very pleased to be with you this morning. So thank you so much for getting up to hear us and to hear what we have to say. So we are rounding out the last few days of the holiday season, and we just want to say we really thank you so much for tuning into our podcast. Thank you for giving us a chance to say what we want to say and open up the microphone and start talking. So it's been a great pleasure to serve you with our podcast. And before I forget, let me let you know that the CMajor radio show is on holiday right now. So if you've been going over there to see what we're going to be talking about, I would just say go ahead and download your favorite episodes on demand. If you have a favorite, or if you're just curious and you're just searching around, just window shopping over there, then feel free to download the episodes that can help you get through your music making throughout the holiday season. But we will be returning in the new year. But as far as CMajor before the show goes, we're going to keep things going over here because we still have a lot to say. So, I know that you're excited about today's podcast because we are talking about Christmas playlist. We're talking about social media shout-outs. We're going to give some student shout-outs today, and it's going to be a very exciting podcast episode. So, we're glad that you are here. Lots of applause this morning, so you will hear lots of applause, lots of cheers this morning on today's episode. So what are we talking about? We're talking about listening to music with your family over the holidays. And so what I did was I put together what I like to call a little gingerbread spicy pumpkin playlist. And it really is a personal playlist of songs that I will probably listen to with my family. So we like to listen comparatively, and we like to have discussions. So if you wonder where my thinking and my overthinking comes from, it comes from my family, because that's how we are. We like to talk about things and then talk about things some more. And then, so it's going to be very fun to listen to these songs, and I encourage you to listen to these songs too if you have a chance. Check out. Now, I'm going to say this. I did put together this playlist in a hurry because what I tried to do is just gather songs that I've been hearing as I've been out and about in coffee shops throughout the greater New York City area. Have you ever done that? You should do it. It's fun. Just as you're out getting your latte or your macchiato or your frappuccino or your cappuccino, whatever it is that you drink for your holiday coffee, try to pay attention to the music. The music is very varied, though, I find. So as I'm bouncing from shop to shop, I'm hearing everything from Christmas songs from the 1950s to other songs that are new to my ears, and then a mix. So it's a nice mix of the old with the new, I would say. Mid-20th century to late 20th century mostly, and then maybe with some 21st century songs sprinkled in, I would say. So we're just going to give you some songs that we were paying attention to and to see what you think about those. Now, what I will not do this morning is play the sample. We did a little bit of that last week, and then we also, at the same time, found out who owns those songs. So it's just nice to know that too, but today we'll refrain from doing that. So if you have a chance to mosey on over to iTunes, Apple Music, whatever your music subscription service is, just type in these songs and then see what you think. So that's your homework assignment for the holidays, to type in these Christmas songs and to see what your ears tell you about these songs. Now, these are songs that I'm not encouraging you to play on the piano. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is just listen to them and see if they are songs that appeal to you. Okay, so here we go. Number 1 from our Gingerbread Spicy Pumpkin playlist. Number 1 is Destiny's Child, 8 Days of Christmas. Listen to Carol of the Bells, also known as Opera of the Bells. So I chose this one because as I was out and about, like I said, I was picking up a pumpkin spice latte myself. And I heard this song and I thought it might have been them. But then when I went to listen, I think it might have been this other group. So I'm going to get to that group. That group is going to be number 4. So that's where the comparative listening comes into play. But if you have a chance, listen to Destiny's Child, 8 Days of Christmas, Carol of the Bells, also known as Opera of the Bells. Number 2. What Are You Doing New Year's Eve? Ella and Louis Christmas. Ella Fitzgerald. This song really struck me because I was listening to it and I thought the mood of the song is just so sentimental. It's really, really nice. And also there were some other songs playing from the same album. So we're talking about Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong, or Louis Armstrong if you prefer. But it really is a nice combination to hear their voices together. Very classic. So they aren't performing together, I don't think, on this particular song, but there's another song from that album. If you have a chance, listen to that. What Are You Doing New Year's Eve? Ella and Louis Christmas, Ella Fitzgerald. Number 3 on our Gingerbread Spicy Pumpkin playlist is one that I'm sad to announce, Nancy Wilson, because, as you know, she's one of the ones listed now on the list of people that we're going to be missing for the new year. So I just want to have you listen to her version of What Are You Doing New Year's Eve. And I found it on iTunes from the Ultra Lounge Christmas Cocktails Part 1 album. It appears there. So Nancy Wilson, What Are You Doing New Year's Eve? Ultra Lounge Christmas Cocktails Part 1. And I do have to say, I'm going to give a shout out to this student later on, that there's this student that I work with, an adult student, that turned me on to this song in the first place. It was a song that that student wanted to learn to play on the piano. So, number four. Now we're getting to our comparative listening. Merry, Merry, A Merry, Merry Christmas. And they have a version of Carol of the Bells that I really enjoy listening to. So if you have a chance, check that out. Number 4, Merry, Merry, A Merry, Merry Christmas, Carol of the Bells. And I'm talking in between the tunes that I'm listening, but I'm going to go back and just repeat the list so you can just write it down if you happen to have a pen and paper ready, a pencil and paper ready, your iPad ready, and you're trying to type these songs, or you're saying it into your phone so you can remember the song titles, or better yet, just play back the podcast episode and then hear me talk about these songs. Number 5, Can You Stand the Rain? Now that's from The Best Man Holiday, if you've seen that album or if you've seen the movie, and the group is New Edition. So I know what you're saying. CMajor, this is not a Christmas song. It's not. But I like this song so much. I just wanted to include it. Plus, it is from the Best Man Holiday album. So, Can You Stand the Rain? The Best Man Holiday by New Edition. Very good recording, and I just like the song. Number 6. Also not classically known as a Christmas song, but I couldn't resist. I heard this song in a coffee shop, and it just brightened my whole coffee experience. And it's September by Earth, Wind, and Fire. You definitely have to have the Greatest Hits album. If you don't have it, download it and get it on your phone, on your mobile device, because it's the happiest sounding Christmas song that you could ever play that has nothing to do with Christmas. September, Greatest Hits, Earth, Wind, and Fire will definitely brighten up the mood of any holiday party and have you jumping around. Number 7, Boys to Men. Now, I love this. I just love the sound of the voices. I've been a fan of Boys to Men for a very long time. I don't think my family even really knows that. Maybe one of my family members, but Boys to Men, A Joyous Christmas, 20th Century Masters, the best of Boys to Men is from that project. So if you have a chance, take a listen to that. Just the sounds are really, really smooth in that recording. Number 8, my favorite of all time, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Christmas card album by The Temptations. Who cannot love this version of this song? It's just magnificent. You have to listen to it and let me know what you think. If you agree with me or if you found something else that basically tickles your fancy. But I really love this song, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, from the Christmas card album by The Temptations. It's just the whole mood of the song and the singing. You just take a listen. Okay, so that's number 8 on our playlist. And by the way, this is not in order of preference or anything like that. It's just in order of how I listen to it. And I just went down the list looking for 10 songs that I could list that would go along with our gingerbread spicy pumpkin playlist. It's all fun. It's all in good cheer. And I hope you'll join me on this playlist. Now, number 9, James Brown, Soulful Christmas. Soulful Christmas. Now, there's actually another one. I'm going to turn this music down, my background music. I'm going to turn it down for a minute. Now, there is another song that he has out. And I would say I did see the James Brown movie, and I did, I believe, from watching the movie, understand that he would have preferred to sing ballads over a lot of the upbeat music that he ended up producing, which we know him for, a lot of the dance music, but a lot of his ballad singing to me is really, really soulful too. And I enjoy hearing some of the ballads of James Brown. And if you have a chance, check out James Brown's Soulful Christmas. That's the name of the tune and also the name of the album, I believe. Number 10 is another song that just really gets you in a Christmas mood, gets you dancing around. It's by Carla Thomas. Not Carl Thomas, but Carla Thomas. Gee whiz, it's Christmas. And from an album entitled Soul Christmas. Okay, so that's our playlist. And if you missed all of that, just stay tuned because I will repeat it again within the podcast. So I want to keep you listening. And I also want to now turn your attention towards some social media shout-outs that I'd like to give and some student shout-outs as well. So while we're waiting for that, let's turn my music back up. We're just saying Happy Christmas, Merry Christmas. Are you one of those people that get annoyed when people say Happy Christmas and Merry Christmas? I hope not. I saw a person yesterday in a coffee shop wearing a shirt that said basically he didn't like joyful people at Christmas. Kind of a humorous shirt. But he was wearing it like an ugly sweater. He was wearing it. It was green and had this white writing on the front, all caps, saying how he really despises joyful, happy people at Christmas time or something like that. It was very funny. And at the same time, he was wearing the shirt, being in the Christmas spirit and buying his holiday drink. But happy Christmas and Merry Christmas to you. It is not cold outside today. It is not. And it was not cold outside yesterday either. Can you believe the 60-degree weather we've had? I can hardly believe it myself. So take advantage of it. Go outside, make some music, go to Rockefeller Center, go see the Rockettes, go to Big Apple Circus, whatever it is that you do at Christmas time to get yourself in the holiday mood. Hang around Radio City Music Hall, go over and watch some of the ice skaters at Rockefeller Center, take a look at the Christmas tree, just to say you did something traditional in New York around Christmas time. And I want to ask you, did you get a chance to listen to CMajor's Holiday 10 yet? Did you? Well, hopefully you did. We had 2 lists that we gave out so far. And the first one was basically a holiday guide for those looking for songs to play on the piano, to just try on the piano. And then we went back and did a revision of that. We did a Holiday 10 episode. And so if you have a chance, go over to cmajorsclassroom.wordpress.com and take a look at the list over there and check out any links that we have on our blog over there too. So I'm going to be saying a little bit more about that blog in a moment. But this Saturday, which is today, we are taking a look back at our social media journey. We're very excited about our journey, and if we have a chance to, we'll take a look at it again before the new year. But this is our Saturday before Christmas podcast episode, so we just wanted to start mentioning it now because we want you to hear about our presence on Facebook and Twitter and the other ways that we like to connect with you. And we don't want to keep you waiting any longer with this. We just want to say thank you for being a great listening audience and for keeping us heard, for sharing the podcast. I know you're out there. I don't know all of your faces yet, but I will get to know a lot of the faces that listen to us using the platforms that are available that make it possible for podcasting. And all we're looking to do is to grow and to get better, to be all that we need to be for you. So the purpose of CMajor before the show is really to work with recreational music makers looking to play the piano for the first time, or you've been trying to play the piano and you want some tips, you want some direction, you want some ideas to keep yourself going, keep yourself motivated, and so forth. So we're aiming to be that. And we will get back on track with a little bit more, I would say, light instruction. So with the holiday season, it's been mostly shout-outs and playlists and just fun things that we like to talk about here on the podcast. So again, thank you so much for listening and making it possible for us to be right here on CMajor before the show. And I also want to mention again that the CMajor radio show is on holiday break. So please look for us again in the new year. It's just that a lot of piano students take breaks. But you know what? I'm finding out that a lot of students don't like to take breaks over the holiday. They really want something to do. But I think it's right to go ahead and just take a break over there and come back strong for the new year. So that's what we're aiming to do over at the CMajor radio show, and we will give you any updates of topics that we will discuss over there. So thank you again. And do you have your holiday winter coffee beverage in hand this morning? If you don't, I would say try to grab one, even if it's something that you make up yourself at home. Grab hold of your favorite winter coffee beverage and then just listen, because we're going to give some very important social media shout-outs right now. So just imagine you are sitting in a winter village surrounded by snow-covered pianos that smell like Christmas trees and the aroma of oranges and grapefruits and Merry Christmas to you. So the first shout out we want to give, of course, is to the platform that we are speaking on right now at this time, and that is Spreaker. Thank you so much for letting us have our podcast here on this platform. It has meant a lot to us, and what we were aiming for is to eventually have our own app, but I know we have to build toward that. So I think I made an announcement about that early on in the fall or maybe late summer, that we were looking to have our own app eventually, and at the very earliest that would have been in October, but here we are in December. So just stay with us if you are part of our listening audience, because as we build, we do want to make it easy for you to access the show. And while I'm talking about Spreaker, let me go ahead and say that I did look into that plugin that I learned about online, and we're very excited about getting that plugin so you can access the podcast over on the blog. So if you happen to be over on our blog and you just want to go ahead and just click on the latest episode, you will be able to do that once we upgrade. So give us a chance to do that. I'm looking into it, and I think it's going to be better for you to access the show from our blog. So I'm looking into that, and it should be fun. So the next shout out I would like to give is to Blog Talk Radio. So applause for Blog Talk Radio. Thank you so much. You make it possible for us to have the CMajor radio show over there. And I would not be over there if it were not for another friend that introduced me to Blog Talk Radio. So friends sometimes help friends discover things, and that's what happened. I stumbled upon Blog Talk Radio and then was finally able to put it to use with our own podcast. So the CMajor radio show is on Blog Talk Radio. We would like to continue over there. It's a different tone that we set over there. But I'm very excited because I'm also looking to do more call-ins. I'm also looking to do interviews in the new year. I'm looking into it. And so we appreciate your patience while we pan all of those things out. So thank you. Thank you to Spreaker, and thank you to Blog Talk Radio. Number 3 for our shout out today is WordPress. We want to give a shout out to WordPress. WordPress makes it possible for us to have our blog. So when we say, did you do your homework? It's usually because we're pointing you toward that blog. That blog has all of your homework assignments over there. It's all in great fun. It's all jokes. It's not saying you have to do your homework. One of the cutest things that I hear all the time with my students is, no homework. I'm never doing any homework. No. I have enough work. And even with the grown-ups, same thing. They're so busy with their work and their lives that who wants to stop and do homework? So if you have a chance, check out the blog. WordPress makes it so possible for us to say what we need to say during the week. We can get on and say it quickly and then just step off and then just tell you what we posted over there using our podcast platform. So it really does work well together. So I really appreciate WordPress. And then we also plan to upgrade over there as well. As I was saying earlier, once we have a chance to do that and lean more towards the business side of things as we grow professionally and as we grow the podcast. Everything takes time. It's not instant. It's not something that I thought would happen instantly either. I just thought over time we'll just see what happens. We'll set the tone here and then we will just grow from there. So shout out so far to Spreaker, Blog Talk Radio, and WordPress. This really is kind of like my 12 days of shout outs list. I would say my top 12. And then, of course, I have others that I need to mention outside of that, but not necessarily in order of preference, but I would say order of first thought. The first thing I thought about shouting out was Spreaker, and then the second thing was Blog Talk Radio, and then WordPress. It all kind of flows together. So number 4 shout out would be Twitter. So big applause for Twitter. Twitter was one of those things that we dabbled in, I would say. We dabbled in Twitter, and then we stepped off of Twitter, and then we came back to Twitter. And so we're still tweeting along, and it's very small over there, but we're hoping that over time that our tweets will mean something to you. So whether we're tweeting a link or tweeting a quote or something else, we want to keep it separate from our presence over at Facebook, for instance. So I just think that it's a usual thing to mention Twitter and Facebook in the same breath. And so after Twitter, of course, there's Facebook. So a big shout out to Facebook. Facebook makes it possible for us to do a little bit more of what we're doing at WordPress. So WordPress is mostly where our homework assignments are, but Facebook is more where our personality is. So we may even post links from other, I won't say other podcasters, but other social media interests, let me say it that way, that are out there. So we have a list of those interests, those companies, those other, how should I say? I'll just say other interests, those other interests that we hear from throughout the week. So whether it's through email or just finding out about some social media feed that comes across our desk, we're able to share a little bit of that on Facebook and to say, hey, take a look at this. This just came across my desk, or you might want to check this out, things like that. So we're able to do that. Now, this is on the public Facebook page. It's more of like the Facebook business page. But again, we're not set up to do business really yet. We're just easing towards that. But it's a chance to say, you know what? We want you to pay attention to what we're doing here and also pay attention to some of the things that we're interested in that you may be interested in. So, for instance, there was a chord poster that was put out, right? It just happened to come across our desk. We let you know about it. If that's something that's useful to you as a recreational music maker and you would like to be able to access all of the chords that you need for songwriting, for playing songs, as opposed to going to your nearest music retailer and getting a chord chart, for instance. You know that little plastic chart, the paper fold-out chart that you can purchase for around $5 and under. This is an actual poster that's available online. So I think they've been really successful with it so far. They did some sort of campaign to kick it off, and now they really are starting to get to where they want to be with the poster and to make it useful for recreational learners, self-teaching pianists that are out there. So take a look over at our Facebook page. You can look for CMajor before the show. Look for CMajor's classroom over there as well. The next shout out I would like to give, number 6 on our list, is Band Zugal. If you've never heard of Bandzoogle, I'll spell it for you. Bandzoogle. And the reason why I want to give a shout out to them is because they were really instrumental in helping us get started as CMajor, developing a really strong presence online as an indie artist, and then branching out from there. And so we were also able to broadcast our podcast over there as well. And then we stepped away. We stepped away because we said we're going to scale back, and that's what we did. So we scaled back to like the bare bones of social media, rebuilding Twitter, doing something else on Facebook, because I also have a Facebook private page that's private for just my musician friends. And so the one that we're on now is a little bit more public, but shout out to Bandzoogle. I want to say that anyone who's an indie artist that's looking for a way to build your online presence on a website, look into that. I believe they have a trial version of a website that you can build, maybe even a free version, and then after that you can start looking at some of the pricing over there. But I highly recommend it. I was able to find out about Bandzoogle through some of my friends in music retail, so I'm very happy about Bandzoogle. And who knows, in the future we may come back if we have a way to do it and we have a need to do it. We'll come back over there. Very great platform. Highly recommend it. And our next shout out is going to go to Music Glue. So number 7 on our list is Music Glue. So that's where we are now. That's kind of an interesting platform to be on because it's free for us, and at the same time it's a chance to really sell merch. And I believe they're based in the UK. So if you have a chance, check out Music Glue. We're just there just to have a presence, and we are currently there on Music Glue, and who knows where we're going to go with that, but take a look over there if you can. Find us over there. What I liked about that is that we were able to list some of the things that we were doing in the greater New York City area throughout the new year, throughout 2018, and then we will stay on Music Glue going into 2019. So if you have a chance, check them out. My number 8 on my list of 12 days of shout-outs, Sonic Bids. Excuse me, I had a little orange juice in my, for a moment. So, Sonic Bids, 12 days of shout-outs. Number 8 is Sonic Bids. And the reason I want to shout out Sonic Bids, they're based in Boston. And Sonic Bids gave CMajor the first chance to be seen and to be heard in the greater New York City area. Now, there were a couple of other sites too, but Sonic Bids I stuck with the longest. So if you are an indie artist and you're looking to be independent and stay independent, then I would say check out Sonic Bids. It's great for bidding on gigs. You can actually go on and then just find out what promoters are looking to do in particular areas all over. And if they like your profile, if they like what you are standing for in your act, then you may get noticed and you may be contacted. So definitely check them out. We stepped away from Sonic Bids as well because we're looking to grow in a different direction. CMajor is growing, I would say, a little bit more in an acoustic direction and a different type of venue. So look for that because I think we're moving more towards the concert stage for 2019. For 2019, we're stepping into a new realm, let me say it that way. So just stay with us on that. And then who knows, we may end up coming back to Sonic Bids in a different form. I'll say it like that. So who knows? I may end up being one of those people looking for talent using Sonic Bids as opposed to being the talent that I was hoping people would find on Sonic Bids. But Sonic Bids is spelled SONICBIDS if you have a chance to check out that platform. So shout out to Sonic Bids and thank you so much. A lot of our recognition online did come from Sonic Bids very early on, and we were able to sustain that presence. So thank you again. Number 9, Indie on the Move. Shout out to Indie on the Move. So speaking of indie, if you are looking to tour and you are an independent artist and you don't know where to start and you need some advice, definitely check them out because they will give you some direction with that. So I was very excited about Indie on the Move because I had a musician friend who's still one of my friends. But, you know, how things happen in New York, you kind of go your way and that person goes their way. And you see them on social media. But that's pretty much the extent of it. But I have to give this person credit for saying, you know, the next thing you should do is, and then fill in the blank, because this person had experience beyond being an indie. This person was able to get signed to a label and do all of the things that indie artists do before getting signed, and then having that whole experience of being signed and then stepping away from that. So this person had a lot of advice to give that I really appreciate, and they were the ones that really told me to look into Indie on the Move. So definitely check out Indie on the Move. I still get the emails and the information about what they're doing over there, and so I really appreciate the information that they share and the webinars and so forth. So definitely check them out. Check out number 10 on our list, which is Django Radio. Big applause for Django Radio because, again, it's one of the first places that we were heard. So right now, I think we have one song that may be listed because we really haven't grown as much over there as we wanted to do, as we wanted to grow. But I really appreciate the platform because it gave me a way to interact with those who do listen to the music of CMajor. And then tied into that is Radio Airplay, number 11. So if you look into Radio Airplay, you will see That's All Right, which is listed for CMajor. That's one of our singles that we have playing over there. And I think we're just going to stay there for the moment. We can always do a certain number of plays to keep you listening and to turn new listeners onto the music. But Django Radio, number 10, and Radio Airplay, number 11. And our number 12 for our 12 days of shoutouts is TuneCore. Special thanks to TuneCore for making it possible for the music of CMajor to be what it is today. So I really appreciate just having that platform, having a presence, and also having room to grow that. So we take our presence very seriously over there, and that's our 12 days of shout out. So applause. And cheers. So, of course, there are other people on our social media list. This is our Christmas social media list that's coming up now. And it's meant to fill in any names that we might have missed on the 12 Days of Shoutouts list. But Apple Music, of course, iTunes, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and any other platforms connected to this podcast, to my fans, to my followers, and to social media supporters. So thank you so much for helping us to be heard. So I would just encourage anyone that's online right now, just stay woke, as they say, and really pay attention to what's going on with Billboard News and what's happening as the online presence of music professionals continues to grow, and to grow in a way that either takes you up or takes you across. And if you are a recreational music maker, I would say find yourself a podcast that you enjoy. There's a really new and different podcast that's out right now that breaks down the understanding of opera music. So if you're into that, we did list that over on our Facebook page as well. So if I have a chance, I would say on our next podcast, we may actually go and just comb through some of these posts that we did over on our Facebook page, just to kind of lead you a little bit on where we're finding out this information. So thank you again. I'm very excited about our social media presence, and I'm also very excited about our students. So let me go ahead right now and do some student shout outs. Now, as you know, I'm very cautious about saying any names and giving away any identity to these students. The only thing I talk about will be the music that they're making and some of the things that they've been able to achieve across the week. But I'll usually say he or she, him or her. I won't say a name, and I try to be very careful about that. So just know that if you are a student and this sounds like you, that there are probably other students out there doing similar things or the same things. So we just encourage anyone who's having a similar experience to know that this is something that we're recognizing. Now, our first student that I want to shout out is a student that really just blew me away, I would say, with the support of her family by learning a really lengthy arrangement of a pop song. And this pop song was taken from a movie. Something, that the student was really, really, really excited about and excited to learn. And being so young, I was really surprised at how the student really took off with the song. It's a piano arrangement of the song, and she's just really engaged in learning this song. And to the point of when I went back the following week, once we had a chance to look at the score, she had already started editing some of it and saying, I like the way this sounds a little bit better over that. I'm going to leave this out. I was really surprised, really impressed for someone to be that young and already thinking about arranging her own version of the pop song and doing it and able to do it. So as she's reading, as she's keeping her eyes on the score, she's also editing and leaving things out and saying, I don't think the C sharp works here for me. I don't want to hear that sound. I'd rather hear the top voicing. So I'm just going to bring out the top voicing and leave out the middle voicing. Things like that. I've never had a student to do that. So big shout out to her. And she's just getting to that stage of, I would say, late elementary study, easing into intermediate study, where she's comfortable with accidentals, flats and sharps and naturals, and learning about ledger lines and being comfortable with taking her hands out of the 5-finger positioning and really starting to make her own music. So I'm very excited for her. Very excited for her. My next student that I want to shout out is a student that I've mentioned at least once, maybe twice on the podcast. I haven't said her name, but she's a student that just stood her ground and said, I studied piano enough where now I know exactly what I want to do. And I have to respect that. So she's decided that she wants to grow laterally. So she really wants her growth to be all the way across now with just learning songs on the piano, and that's it. She's not really willing to grow up. She's labeling herself as somebody that really wants to take her time and learn songs that she enjoys playing on the piano. So songs that use beginner notes and chords in the left hand. So now she's becoming comfortable with chording these melodies. And just really taking the initiative to find songs that she enjoys playing and then bringing them to the table. And then also learning the format. So what happens a lot in pop music, if you've ever sat down to try to play sheet music, what happens is that you'll have either a da capo indication or a dal segno indication. If you want to know more about those terms, go see us over at the CMajor radio show. But I can show you those signs in the music. There's always something that routes you back to the second verse, and then you have to know where to go from there. It's like, where do you hop off? Where do you leave to go to the coda? So she's learning about that structure and then training herself to be able to follow the structure of the song. And the other thing that's exciting is that she's also able to play along with the songs. And she's also learning about transposition. So purely putting herself on the path of being a strong recreational learner, but she's excited about it. So that's why I'm shouting her out. Now I have another student. Now this student is also deciding his growth path. We'll say it that way. If he wants to stay on the path to lateral growth or if he really wants to start growing up. So I think he's almost decided that he wants to grow laterally and then eventually just grow up. So his growth is going to be more on a curve. So he's decided to step back and just learn songs from musicals that he enjoys. Everything from Hamilton to The Sound of Music to The Music Man. Whatever the case may be in the case of musicals. Songs that mean something to him and get him excited about music making. That's where we are right now. And then grow from there. It really is a pivot point sometimes of knowing what to do next. So, applause. And that's also an applause for anyone who's at that crossroads. You're at that crossroads of wanting to do what your teacher wants you to do, but at the same time, declaring what it is that will keep you excited, keep you engaged about music making, and to stay on that path. Another shout out I want to give to a student who is a grown-up, and this student turned me on to the song that I mentioned that Ella Fitzgerald sang on her album, What Are You Doing New Year's Eve? So a big shout out to her. Another student who really knows what she wants out of her music making. Also studying the music of Vince Guaraldi, learning all of the Peanuts movie music. And she loves the sound of jazz, the sound of blues. So shout out to her. And my last shout out, I just had 5 student shout outs that I wanted to give this week. My last shout out is to a student who, oh my goodness, I'm so impressed with this student because she reminded me of my student that started out playing the piano on paper. You know how nowadays you have so many products out there saying you can use any surface for piano playing, and that's true. We talked about one of my musician friends who takes a roll-up piano to work, puts it in his back pocket literally, and takes it out during lunch to just sit at a tabletop and just play. He's just fingering chords because he plays mostly black chords and just fingering new chords that he's learned for that week. 7th chords, 9th chords, whatever the case may be, for chords that excite him about his music making. And then we also posted a link to a product, or I think I posted a picture of the product maybe, where you can attach something to your hands and then use any surface for playing notes, like you're playing notes on a piano. So this student was very close to that. She wasn't quite at the stage of learning to play the piano by playing on paper first and then graduating up, as another student had done. She started with the 44-key keyboard and then quickly, within a week or two, grew into a 61-key keyboard. And you know those keys that light up? That's the keyboard that she ended up getting, and just has really shown me a different way that you can learn to play the piano. Kinesthetic learning, maybe it could be labeled as that, but following the movement and really learning to play those songs. But not only that, I mean, stepping away from the whole excitement of seeing lights on piano keys, the student has really shown that she will take the initiative in her own learning. And once she stepped back, she started to ask questions. Oh, what can I do to learn to play scales? What can I do to learn to play chords? Really started asking questions. What can I do to build my song library? And again, she's fitting within this group of students that I'm mentioning this week, that I'm shouting out this week, students that really have decided to take charge of their own learning, to be self-directed. They're a little bit beyond self-teaching, and even though they have someone guiding them, they still are not waiting for someone to tell them every little step. They're taking the initiative. So shout out to all 5 of these students. And then for the first time in the history of CMajor Before the Show, I have a bonus shout out. So I rarely do this, but I have to shout out the student who learned to play Jingle Bells. So big shout out to her. Yes, and the reason I'm giving a bonus shout out is because she took the initiative. She went inside her own digital piano. Now she has the big weighted key digital piano that has songs built in and has a teaching feature built in. But she was able to learn Jingle Bells from that. And then what we did was we made it so that she could play chords in her left hand along with the melody in the right hand and make it her own arrangement by changing the harmonies. So we basically taught her 1, 4, 5, 7, basically, in the left hand. So even though that version of Jingle Bells in that particular piano song bank used different chord changes, she was comfortable using 1, 4, 5, 7 and was able to do it. And now she's delighted, and she's able to share music with her friends and family for Christmas. And she hasn't been playing more than 6 months. So bonus shout out today. Yes, so thank you so much for tuning in to CMajor Before the Show. If you're just joining us, we've done a number of things this morning. We've given you our gingerbread spicy pumpkin playlist, and we've given some social media shout-outs and some student shout-outs. We're going to go back to that playlist because what I want to do now is just list everything so that you can write it down quickly if you missed it, or just make plans to listen back and actually do your homework by listening and then giving us your feedback of whether or not you agree that these are songs that can fit into your own Christmas playlist as you are making one up for yourself. Okay, so I'm going to say it backwards this time and go with number 10. So number 10 was Carla Thomas, Gee Whiz, It's Christmas, Soul Christmas. Number 9, James Brown, Soulful Christmas, from the album Soulful Christmas. Number 8, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, from the album Christmas Card by The Temptations. Number 7, Boyz II Men, A Joyous Christmas, from 20th Century Masters, The Best of Boyz II Men. Number 6, September, Greatest Hits, Earth, Wind, and Fire. Number 5, Can You Stand the Rain? The Best Man Holiday by New Edition. Number 4, Mary Mary, A Merry Merry Christmas, Carol of the Bells. Number 3, Nancy Wilson, What Are You Doing New Year's Eve? From Ultra Lounge Christmas Cocktails Part 1. Number 2, What Are You Doing New Year's Eve? Ella and Louis Christmas by Ella Fitzgerald. And number 1, Destiny's Child, 8 Days of Christmas, Carol of the Bells, also known as Opera of the Bells. So I'll be listening with my family across the holidays to music, and then just letting you know if there is music that my family is excited about, and then bringing that to the podcast. What do you think about that? So thank you so much for tuning in today to CMajor Before the Show. We wish you a very Merry Christmas. We wish you happy holidays, and we hope that wherever you are, that the weather is holding up for you for this holiday season. So tune in next week. We will be here. It will be the podcast before the new year. So we will have lots of things to say. We will just open up the mic and start talking. And I think what I want to do for the next episode is just cover a little bit more of what we're going to be doing on social media for the new year. So we're going to talk more about our podcast episode plans. I think what I want to do is focus more on wellness for the new year, and to really get you feeling good about where you are with your music making. Because to be honest, I think what I'm trying to do is to help you make music a part of your lifestyle. Wouldn't it be great if you got to either listen to or make music on a daily basis? If you like music, I do know that there are some out there who would prefer to do something else other than music making, maybe sports, maybe something else. But if you are into music making, this is not a forced thing. This is saying, if you are into music making and you want to know how to put a little music into your day, that's what we're doing here. We also like to pose our open-ended question: what part of music is teaching? What part of music is teaching, and what part of music is self-teaching? So if you understand that question that just says, at what point do you need a teacher? Do you need someone to help guide you through questions that you have to keep your music making strong? And then, what are you using? I'm not a nosy person, but I'm very curious. I want to know what you're doing. So we look forward to that in the new year. I really want to start tapping into your lives to find out, how are you learning to play the piano? How are you doing that? So look forward to that in 2019, and hopefully we can say a little bit more about that in our next podcast episode. Also, to revisit some of the things that we've said. I may even go through the list of podcast titles that we put out so far for our episodes on CMajor Before the Show, and talk a little bit about the CMajor radio show as well, just to comb through some of that. And you know what? We may even start weeding out some of the podcast episodes that were not as strong as others, because we can do that. We can just hit the delete button and say, go away. We're only going to list these episodes. Take a listen to these episodes that can help you go forward. So make the best music that you can make, and have a wonderful holiday weekend. And we'll see you next week right here on CMajor Before the Show.